Okay, I'd like to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. We have an assignment for request for council action, all for finance. 1674 request to award bid court scanning project. 1675 expenditure for home agreement 427 Prospect. 1676 SPCA annual donation request. 1677 fiscal year 16 CDBG application. 1678 OPWC resolution of intent, Ryan Road reconstruction. 1679 OPWC resolution of intent, Rogers Road Waterline Phase 1. 1680 expenditure over 15,000, increased PO Osborne Medina. 1681 Fair Housing Agreement, fiscal year 15 CDBG. 1682 revised Civil Service Rule 6J. 1683 expenditure over 15,000, Ohio Association of Chiefs of Police. 1684 ODOT Salt Purchase Program, and 1685 proposed new classification of water technician. The next item is 1670, construct a 6-foot sidewalk along Ryan Road. Patrick?
We discussed this at the last meeting, had a couple of folks here advocating for it, and I was asked at that time to come back with a price for 6-foot asphalt. The 6-foot asphalt would be a little bit cheaper than a 6-foot wide concrete. I've shown, basically, within the bid now, a 4-foot sidewalk is a little over $49,000 is what's the bid price. If you remember, the 6-foot concrete sidewalk would be an additional $39,000 on top of that. For 6-foot wide asphalt, it would be about an additional $15,000 to $16,000.
Now, is that only the existing sidewalk, and it's not tearing out, it's not tearing out the existing sidewalk, it's only the new sidewalk?
No, that would be, the idea would have 6 foot from Lafayette all the way to Sturbridge. So it would be removing.
How much?
About 320 feet of sidewalk or so.
Do we have to do, my only question
We
is,
don't have to.
if there's a sidewalk that's good, why would we tear it out?
Well, it's a valid point. They asked us to consider putting a 6 foot in from A to B.
Would it be detrimental if it was a 6-foot only with the new stuff we put in?
Would it be detrimental?
I mean, I guess you could still use a bike, could still ride, and do they have to go in the street then, or can they go on a 4-foot sidewalk for a ways, or? I mean,
Legally, the bikes can be on the sidewalk, they just have to yield to pedestrians.
Okay.
So whether it's 4 foot or 6 foot, the idea of the 6 foot is that you can have them
Sure,
abreast
sure.
or passing one another.
I mean, I just can't, it doesn't make sense to tear something out that's perfectly fine. It just, I mean, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but that's my only question. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Could you run through those costs one more time? Just say that again.
To go with a 6-foot wide sidewalk would cost an additional $39,000.
Okay.
Go with the 6-foot wide asphalt would cost an additional $15,000 to $16,000.
So you're looking at a difference about $24,000, $25,000.
And we lose the value of the
6 foot.
sidewalk that we're ripping out.
Well, if we rip it out.
But
If we
is
rip it
If
that-
we
out.
rip it out, those numbers will come down a bit.
If you don't rip it out, those numbers will come down a little bit.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I don't, it's up to what you guys want to do. I mean, I don't like ripping out something that's perfectly fine.
Where's the existing now?
The one north is from Lafayette. It goes, I think, just to the end of those condos there at the corner.
Okay.
And the one south goes from Sturbridge almost to the railroad tracks.
So, I mean, are we talking 50 feet total? We're
No,
talking
total
100
is
feet?
About 300. About
300 feet total?
each. Yeah.
I went and looked at it, and I think some of the other guys did too, and initially I thought it sounded like, a pretty good idea. But I guess I got two things. One is, it is first of all, it's a sidewalk, so it's a pedestrian sidewalk, even though you can ride your bike on any sidewalk in town. But our discussion really is centered around it being, a sidewalk, but really centered around being a bike path, which sounds like it's a bike path. And if in fact it's going to be a bike path, then it seems we would have to make it wider so that it was a bike path and there was space for people to walk. And secondly, there's a lot of driveways for a bike path, for something kind of designated as a bike path. So it crosses a lot of driveways, and I'm wondering if that's if in fact we're going to have a bike path, if that's where we want to have the bike path, something that's we're designating a bike path, but we're really saying it's a sidewalk, but it is a bike path, and the issues that might raise, other than the cost.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but if we put a bike path any place in a residential area, you're gonna, whether it be in the street or on the sidewalk, you're still gonna be crossing, and there's potential for safety concerns of people backing out of their driveway. I mean, I do appreciate what you're saying, but I'd like the South Court be the same thing.
South Court, though, is in the street. I mean, South Court, you know, the idea in South Court Street, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is a designated bike path, you know, like in every city we go in, where there's a line and you can ride your bike there and you're on the road, and nobody walks on that bike path. And while I understand that people do ride bikes on sidewalks, our discussion really is centered around it being a bike path when it really is, it is a sidewalk. And so it sounds like it should either be bigger to be, if it's going to be bold, but then it still is a place that we're funneling people to that crosses a lot of driveways, which is different, I think, than if you're riding a bike on a designated bike lane on the street.
What about North Court, where we're redoing 42? Aren't we doing a bike lane on the one side, or a extra wide,
We are, yeah.
multi-purpose
That's
path?
10-foot wide, I believe.
But essentially, you're crossing driveways. I understand where you're going, Bill. I guess, to me, where's the vision of the future through there? Are we gonna tie into this rail trail or not?
Yeah, I'm
I mean, if
100%.
we're not gonna tie into it, it doesn't make sense to put a
Right.
6-foot wide. If we're gonna eventually have a vision to tie into that, to interconnect these bike paths, then to me, it makes sense to put a wider path.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the vision of tying in with them, but the comparison of North Court, when they do North Court Street, the intention there is to reduce the number of access to the street. You know, it's not like having, and I can't remember exactly how many, Jensen, do you know how many driveways it crosses? Do you recall it?
On Ryan Road?
Yeah.
Isn't it like 20?
Yeah, I believe we got to get 22 easements, something like that, so it'd be
Yeah.
22 driveways.
Where does it go once it goes up around Road? You spill into Lafayette, what happens then?
That's a very good question there.
That was my concern with it, because I'm on the bicycle task force committee as well. And the question is what's the bigger picture? They've had that plan since roughly 2000, the county parks has, to connect it. Right now, it comes from Wycliffe and dead ends at the end of Wycliffe where the city rail starts. And then if there were bikers on that trail, they'd ride down Wycliffe, they'd ride on the road, on Ryan Road. And once they get to Sturbridge, they would, I guess the intention is to jump on the 6-foot wide bike path that would go from Sturbridge to Lafayette if they were to go there. But the sidewalk on Lafayette does, I'm not sure how far it goes to the east, Pat, do you know?
The sidewalk on Lafayette,
Yeah.
not too far, I think.
It's only there where the condos are at, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once you get
So then what
back
happens?
past east
Well,
of there,
that's
there's
the other
great-
question.
There's nothing.
Lafayette's got a lot of breakup points where we, I think as a city, need to connect it at some point here. And that's back to the visual part, that Ryan Road trail that dumps out further south. I mean, there's still a old rail line that they could actually extend that trail up to Sturbridge that dumps out on the, I don't know what the development is on the other side of Ryan at Sturbridge. I mean, that's essentially back before that was in, that's how I used to take the bike path all the way back to Chippewa. So, and that's what I mean, there's a lot of variables here, so I guess we need to figure out what direction do we want to go? I mean, what are we committed to? I mean, we can put in a 6-foot asphalt, which is 15, if my numbers are right, are $15,000 more than a concrete 4-foot, and hope that we follow through with the vision to interconnect all that.
But does that
Or we
include the
just-
removal of the 300-foot too, that $15,000 number?
No, that would come down, that does include the removal, so that
Okay.
number would come down a bit.
So it all depends on,
Well, I guess that's a good question. I mean, why would we, if we don't even know where we're going with it, why would we start tearing stuff out and putting stuff in and spill them out onto Lafayette and say, good luck?
well, and that's what,
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, and then Lafayette's a whole.
So do we want to think about this more? I don't know if there's any rush on it,
Well,
but
that's-
except for this project, I guess, is a,
I think we would need to make a decision probably at the next meeting.
okay.
They'll be pouring the street next week, and then they'll, if we don't let them know, then we'll be holding them up,
Mhm.
you know.
And Pat, they have not torn out any of the existing sidewalk yet, right?
No, not yet.
And how new is that existing sidewalk? Is that,
Those condos were built probably 10 years ago,
Yeah.
15 years ago. ago, and then
So it's
the,
relatively new.
Sturbridge
one in
would
the
have been
south was
about-
probably done when
It would have been a while ago.
Sturbridge was put in, which is probably 20.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, that's what everybody has to think about. I think we can wait one more meeting, but think about it, what the end goal is, and is it worth spending the money? And if you think it's worth spending money, where's the money coming from? That's the only question.
Well, the 49 is already built in the budget, right, Pat? With the
Correct.
loan
We just
and-
need the additional.
Right, if you wanted to do an extra 15 or whatever.
But we could lower this now if we, I didn't realize this was tearing out the existing. I thought it was just connecting. That was my biggest concern when this started, that we'd have a sidewalk all the way from Sturbridge to Lafayette.
But how far would it be if you didn't tear out the sidewalk? How far would the trail be with keeping the existing sidewalk and just putting the trail in? How many feet roughly?
The trail itself, I mean, the A to B is just around 2,000 feet.
1,700 feet,
Okay.
which is quite a distance.
Right. Not quite a half mile. Okay, I mean, anybody have any other questions on that, or?
My only concern with all of this is the safety of the homeowners in backing out of their driveways. I understand what you're saying, Denny, that, you know, the bicycle path is either going to be on the street or the sidewalk, but when you're driving, you tend to look for people walking when you're backing out of your driveway, and then when you get to the street, then you're looking for cars and other vehicle traffic. You're not necessarily looking for bicycles passing you on your sidewalk all the time. You tend not to see those things.
We have
That and-
responsibility for both, though.
Exactly.
Bikers and
I agree. I just think that having a bicycle path with such a large number of driveways having to be crossed is a little bit higher concern than having it along in another area other than, you know, a highly densely populated residential area like this.
I mean, if you're gonna have fresh sidewalk or fresh asphalt, whether it's a bike or not, or a bike on the street or not, they're gonna wanna probably stay off the street and ride the sidewalk as well. So I think you're still gonna have that issue with bicycle traffic through there. Nobody's gonna wanna get on Ryan if there's a smooth path right off the danger area, if you will, and
Right,
so-
and my bigger concern is, I think, I could be incorrect on this, but a lot of people that are gonna use those bike paths will be coming out of the neighborhoods of Sturbridge, off of Sturbridge, and they're not gonna be driving down Lafayette to go down Ryan to get there. I don't know if the use is gonna be there, because it's in the industrial area, so where are all these bikers coming from?
Well, they're gonna come from those neighborhoods, and if,
Yeah, but they're not up by, we're not talking, they're up, not by Lafayette neighborhoods, they're gonna mainly come from the Sturbridge area neighborhoods.
yeah, but if we have a pedestrian system in place, eventually those residents might want to come up to Lafayette and come into town or go east into town or not, you know what I mean?
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I guess they would probably do it safer because the cars are driving a lot faster on Lafayette and probably on Ryan, that they would want to stay in the neighborhoods where the traffic is moving a lot slower to be safe, but I don't know. So everybody can look at that, I guess.
Yeah. Pat, if you take the 300 existing out, how much does that 49 number drop down to, do you think?
That I'd have to get for you. I didn't bring the,
Because I'd rather take that money and put it more toward finishing some more on Lafayette Road.
And tearing something out.
I mean,
Yeah.
I agree with Jim, because I drive it every day, and there's people who's walking on the berm,
Yeah.
you know, and
The funny thing is, on 18, there's still people walking on the berm, and there's a sidewalk on the other side of 18 when I drive down that way.
well, at least there's an option. I
Right.
mean, here there isn't, and so,
Well, if you could get that, just email us that information, and the next meeting, you have to make the decision of what does everybody would like to do. Does that make sense?
the cost that we would save by not tearing out the tree.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Is that okay with everyone?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, item number 3, 1674 bid award for the court scanning project. This came before us during budgets and during discussions when we were talking about the court facility itself. So Nancy, you sent us an update because you went out and bid it and got some numbers back.
Right. Just to refresh everybody's memory, actually, we started talking about scanning 2 years ago when we first started talking about building a courthouse somewhere, whether it was here or across the street, and the fact that there was not going to be enough storage, or the storage would be too expensive to to have storage in the new building, and the fact that I needed to scan my cases so that we didn't have to worry about storage. And one of you gentlemen also said that we're going to pay, when we were going to build it over here, we're going to pay to move the cases over here. So it went on, and now, of course, the building, whether we had the building on this location, whether there is or is not an expansion across the street, the fact is, there's no storage. So we're in a situation now that we have 1,000 boxes already that I am paying monthly storage on at another facility. I have 150 boxes packed up, ready to go to that off-site storage, because there's no more storage left in the building over there. So going along with your suggestion, I did go out to bid. Initially, we thought it was going to be close to $200,000. The low bid came in at about $177,000. The question comes, how are we going to pay for it? And I looked at the carryover, and each year, I've been trying to save up carryover for major projects, like our new case management system that is imminent. If you take away, and I'll be honest with you, if you take away any money that has to do with payroll, whether it's retirement, whether it's Medicare, whether it's anything like that, I actually did have, well, I'm down to $140,000 of carryover. So when I looked at that, I said I could take almost 60% of that amount of money, which would be $80,000, and put toward this project. That would still leave, if I needed that much money more, another $97,000, a little under $100,000. So I'm asking City Council to appropriate an additional $100,000, which I might not need if I'm very prudent with what I'm doing.
Now, when you say this is the scan those stuff, how does that correlate to the new stuff that's happening now? Is that being all scanned in going forward, or how does that correlate?
What we
to
are
those?
doing now with any case that, it's a waivered case, for example, a case that someone is not going to come in and contest it, they're just traffic criminal we'll start with. If they're just going to waive it, they're going to pay it off, that information just gets scanned right in, and we're not creating paper anymore. So new cases are cut down dramatically. We still have a situation with civil cases that just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And sorry for those of you who are attorneys, attorneys love civil cases. So our cases get bigger and bigger, take up more and more room. So as we're getting rid of traffic and criminal cases and figuring out how to get the current ones into the system, our civil cases are just becoming overwhelming.
Do in a civil cases, is there anybody there, I guess the question I have is, if there's a scanner there, would there be a clerk that would, when the civil case is continuing, or maybe when it's closed, they would say, okay, the file's been closed, I'll take the file and scan it now? Or do they scan it as it's going along, or they just don't scan it at all, ever? I mean, how does that work?
It's a combination. Right now, we scan in, of current cases for the last 2 years, we scan in every complaint and every judgment. We do not scan in everything that goes in between, the garnishment information and the employment information and the financial. That does not get scanned in. I would have to have a whole nother person doing that. So that is what's taking up all the space.
So on the, when you go on the website online, it just tells you what was done, it doesn't attach the document to it. Like, if you go online and say, sometimes you have the complaint, you can click on it and look at it or
Right.
whatever.
We
but-
do not have any of our documents available to the public online. It's available online to us, we can click on it, mostly because we don't have somebody to redact social security numbers and license numbers and credit card numbers.
And what is the term of this process to scan all this stuff, and how long does this, does it say on here how long it is?
The whole idea was to get it done in 2 years, because we figured if there were going to be, this is all like predicated on something happening, if there were going to be a new court building, whether it's here, it's across the street, or in a different location, it's going to take 2 years from the beginning to start to end. We're already past that 2-year mark. We're already past that 2-year mark.
Now, I know you said that.
That way, Go ahead.
The 2-year, that's going back how far, I guess?
Well, we have to, by law, I have to keep traffic criminal for 50 years. 50 years.
50 years, okay.
So when you talk about the number of boxes that you have in storage and the estimate for scanning,
Mhm.
and the scanning is a process that is going to happen over 2 years,
Mhm.
then at the end of the 2 years, does that bid then scan all those, everything that needs to be scanned is done?
We are going to scan all closed files, files that are finished. We're not going to scan, old files, files that are finished, because the chances of having to open one of those files is smaller.
And Nancy, that would be the 1,000 you already have out at Gateway, plus 150 that are ready to go somewhere right now.
Right. Plus ones that are on the shelves that we haven't pulled.
I think Bill's trying to ask too, going forward, we're not gonna have to go 5 years from now and rescan everything again.
No,
Okay.
no, because we are in the process, we try to scan as much current.
What happens to this, and I don't know if I understood this correctly, but you don't scan everything now. So what happens to the stuff now that doesn't?
From the complaint to the judgment entry.
Okay,
Yeah.
in civil, from the complaint to the judgment entry, it goes in just like this. It's clipped together, and it gets about this thick.
And it goes in a box and gets stored?
Well, the older files, yes. And then we head out every Thursday, we go out to Gateway and we pull those files.
And you cannot destroy those files once they're scanned? Is that what you're telling me? about the
Yes,
50
once
years?
they're scanned, we
Okay,
can.
okay, gotcha.
That's the whole point. Let's get as many of these, now we'll go back to traffic criminal that we have to keep for 50 years, get them, as many as we can scanned in so that we can destroy the paper files. They don't take storage at Gateway, they don't take storage on the shelves. We won't need as much storage if a building is built, if an addition is put on.
I think
If we have to move out of the
I
basement for
understand what Bill's saying now.
Yeah.
He's
still gonna have
trying to,
storage.
the stuff that, in between the complaint and the judgment entry, is that part of this 1,300 boxes going out to be scanned?
No.
Okay.
Well, it's for older cases, the current 5 or 6 years will be here.
Well,
But again,
everything's scanned,
closed
everything.
cases are being scanned.
Everything is.
When they are finished, they're being scanned
Okay.
and being destroyed. So the only thing left on the shelves will be open cases.
But if the new ones, what I was asking was, I thought you said that the new cases that are happening right now, they were not being scanned in their entirety. Is that,
In civil,
okay. So what happens to those?
They will have to be scanned at some point.
At some point, they will have to be
So
scanned.
they're not included in this though. So I guess what I'm saying is.
No,
if-
I would never, ever send a case that was open off-site somewhere.
But when they're not open, they will have, once they're closed,
Right.
they will have to be
Well,
scanned.
Right. Let's
And
put
who's
it
gonna
this
So
way.
then we will come back here.
Well, I guess the question is, who's gonna scan
No,
them?
because once we can get rid of the mass of cases going back 50 years, then it'll be much easier for us to work with the cases on an annual basis.
And you can do it in-house, so to
And we can do it in-house. There's just no way we can do 50 years of cases in-house.
So they just weren't kept up with.
speak.
Correct?
It was never done.
They were never scanned.
It just has not been done for all this time.
Right, until we started scanning in 2008.
So on average, when you talk about the storage and when you send people out there, how often, is that a daily thing?
I only send somebody out because I have to pay to do this. Send somebody out every Thursday. We go out every Thursday and pull files.
What's that storage unit cost to rent? Do we rent it, right?
No, they're
We pay,
boxes.
right?
We pay, right.
We pay per
I pay
box.
$500 a month.
$500 a month to store all these boxes,
Right.
which is
$6,000.
$6,000 a year.
And growing, because every time I send another $100
It's
out.
been growing for 50 years. So that's $6,000 for storage. $177,000 may sound like it's not as much as we thought, I guess, but boy, that's a huge amount of money for saving one trip out a week, don't you think?
Don't
don't you really need to analyze this in terms of how much money you're gonna save? I mean, you need to look at what you're spending now, you need to look at this bid and figure out how much money you're saving in order to come up with an informed decision. And so that means figuring out, well, what does it cost to store this, and what are you gonna save?
Well, the only question
Out
I,
of the law department, I've got all these files, and we're just paying our storage at Gateway. We're not gonna scan all this stuff. If I thought I was gonna try to present the council with that, I think I would need to give you, okay, here's how much we're spending now, here's how much we're gonna save if we do it a different way. I think you need to look at that.
We can look at $320 a square foot for building.
I guess my question would be more of, do we have to scan all 50 years? How far back, how many times do you pull a file that's 25 years or older? How often does that file come up?
But you know what, it doesn't matter. By law, I have to have
No, but you save those and store
files.
those, but I'm talking about the scanning cost of only 25 years as opposed to 50 years could be half the cost. When it's 25, between 50 and 25 years, you may never pull a file, but maybe once a month of that group of files between 25 and 50 years. I mean, I don't know, you know better
Do
than
I
I.
have to guess then which file I might have to pull?
No, I'm just talking about you go back, because the more recent the case, the more often you're likely to pull the file, because it's still, even though it's closed, it may be 2 years from now, somebody say, oh, we gotta go back to that case. You'll pull that. Nobody's gonna say, oh, I gotta go back 49 years to that case, I gotta pull that file. I mean, does that happen how often does that happen?
Every month.
Well, if it happens once a month, I mean,
I have to go back
To
and find
save
something that's that old.
$80,000 or something, that may be worth it. I mean, no, I'm just playing devil's advocate here to say, if it's only once a month, and why would you spend $80,000, let's say it costs half of that, to do years 26 through 50? And just-
So what you're suggesting then,
I don't know.
Go ahead.
Well, if you want me to pull for you, because we did this recently in discussion of record storage, and I mean, I can pull up what we pay to Gateway. We also pay, in addition to the monthly fee, because finance stores some things there too, as law does, and the court.
$350 every time.
We also pay, there's a pull charge, there's a stocking charge, I mean, there are some other charges that we pay them. I don't
Totally
know all
understand.
those
You're
off the
right.
top of my head. But if
See how old
you're
they are.
looking for that number, I could get that together.
But if these are scanned in, Mr. Hoover, why would you save them?
What's that?
If these are all scanned in, then why would you save your files?
Why would I?
If they're the same files, or would they not be the same file? You have a working file that might be different, but wouldn't it be the same file documents that in your file that you're spending money to save as the
Well,
courts?
if I have to pull anything, generally, I want the whole file available to look at. I can't, when I pull something, it could be anything in that file, and it typically is from all over. It's not just pleadings, it's not just an order. If I pull something, it could be any aspect of what the prosecutors have in that file, so I keep the whole thing. And I just figure that's the cost of doing business. I've got to keep my records for a long time, and that's what it is.
Right. My only concern is, Nancy, is that if we're gonna be doing stuff up to 50 years ago, is it really worth the money to send them? Because if it takes us 2 years, 10 years from now, those 50-year things are gonna be 60 years out.
All right, and then they'll be gone. And that maybe what I think I hear you're saying is maybe we just scan up to year 25, and then say 26 on out, every year you get rid of another group.
Right.
So every year that group gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Because that 50-year rule, right?
Right, with the 50-year rule, now a case that's 49 years old now is 50 years next year, and then the year after that, it's gone. So the amount of storage you have, and then we're building up on the other end with keeping current with the scanning. Is that the direction you're
Well, right, because,
talking?
yeah, instead of
Okay.
going all the way back, because we're gonna scan stuff in, and then the next year is gonna be, we don't need to save it anymore.
Right.
But it'll be digitized forever.
Right.
But I'm just looking forward, I mean, as we go forward, I think we're gonna catch up, but the question is, how far back do we need to go?
And-
And I don't know the answer to that.
Well, the thing is, and you're absolutely right. My whole goal was, let's get rid of 25 years, scan it, get it done.
The first
And then-
25,
And
right?
the first 25 years.
But this is all
That's how we're
50, this number includes.
Well, there's 50, yes, but I can swap out and put the 25, oldest 25, and I can still pay storage out at Gateway.
Well, I'm just wondering what the number would be if you got rid of the old 25. Would it, I don't know if it'd be dollar for dollar, I don't know if it'd be half, probably not.
It would not, because you
Right.
still have the setup charge, and the fact that they've got to bring people on, so it would not reduce it. This would be, the 177,000 is the maximum amount.
Right, well, I guess I would like to know what would be the amount, could they tell us, if we only did, of course, there's a lot more papers in the the previous 25 years, there's gonna be a lot more paper than 26 to 50, because it just didn't work like that back then.
Right.
So there's gonna be more paper, so it's not gonna be, but it might be less than 176, and
Yeah,
that
more cases.
might be more palatable, I guess, I don't know. I'm just trying to look at, if we don't need to do it, and we can get it down to 125,000, that makes a lot of sense.
If you want to make it $125,000, I can make the project work for $125,000.
I'd like to see, what Keith was talking, I'd like to see what we really spend on the storage, I mean, the total cost.
I think you'll be amazed how much it is.
Well, let me be amazed. But,
Not only Nancy's, but everybody's?
no, I want to see a court, because that way we have an idea. I mean, if we're going to spend even less amount, or just your money, it seems like it makes sense to say, okay, this is what this is going to cost to do this, compared to what this costs now. You know, because what I'm hearing, you know, from the back of the room anyway, is, you know, this isn't quite that, I mean, if you're only going out once a week to pull these files, and it doesn't sound like we are actually keeping up with the current files, so this will, so at some point, we're going to come back here for, I guess, for more money.
No, I think she said she'll keep up with the current files, but when they're open, they're only filing the complaint and the order. Once they're
In
closed,
civil.
everything's getting filed in. Criminal, everything gets filed all the time.
Yes.
So my only point was that once you go back to a certain point, it may not be cost-effective to scan anymore.
That, I understand that, but I'd still like to see what are we spending now compared to what we're going to spend to scan this?
Now, in this contract, is it an all or nothing where we have to?
No,
176, or is
actually,
it something that?
they've got the cost per trip of coming out and getting the boxes,
I
the
gotcha.
cost for shredding a box. So no, it is not. I gave you the total number, but it's broken down by document prep, it's $18 per hour. But if
Right.
you don't have, if they don't have to pull that many staples out, it's gonna be less.
You know,
So they were basing it on 2,930,000 pages.
I got you.
Nancy, how accurate do you think those estimates on the number of pages are?
I think that they probably overestimated because we are going to be giving not as many, because I am going to try to keep it down. But I had to give, when I went out, I said, hey, I think it could be this amount.
And I think
The other,
under your recommendation of going, in 25 years, we're not going to have any storage out there. Because if you're only scanning 25 and up, and every other, the 25 to 50, every year you can
Get rid of
destroy.
closed files that are over 50 years.
You'll be
Everything
done.
should be digitized.
Yeah.
One thing I want to warn you of is, I mean, I can get the amounts we pay them. I don't have the foggiest idea what's in those boxes from
The number of
gateway
pages,
reports.
right.
So when you talk about 25 years, and I've heard some people, and I mean, John, you pointed this out, but 25 years is not going to be half. I have no idea what that number is, but just if you
There'll
want
probably
that,
be
it's
more,
not going to be
it'll probably be more than
that I
half.
can get you.
Right.
I don't know, I mean, 10 years might be half. I don't know.
So I guess to move forward with what you want to do, Nancy, and you suggested that you have some money available from Carry Forward to start this process.
Yes.
I guess the question would be, and I'm trying to think this through, what would be the harm of starting the process? And starting with, you know, maybe the closed files, the most recent ones, and you just start it, because it's on a it's not like a bulk rate, you get any discount, you already have the
Right.
numbers here. And then we make a determination of how far we want to go. Because maybe we go more than your 80,000, maybe we go less than that, I don't know what that number is.
Nancy, are these numbers, do they reflect the minimum of what you have to do with them? I mean, are they giving you this pricing based on a minimum of 500,000 pages, or, you know,
Actually,
is
the
there a
base
quantity
was
discount here?
based, it was based on 2,930,000
That's all we're
pages.
Well, I guess we just have to confirm that, and if you sign an agreement with them, do they expect that they're going to get paid 177,000? Because what I'm hearing is that, no, they're not going to expect to get
No, because they broke it
177,000.
down, when I figured out the price, this particular company, it's $10 for every trip. They are less expensive for shredding. Some of the companies charge $4 a box to shred. This company only charges $1 a box to shred. So there are a lot of variables that keep it down. the shredding actually was very costly for some of the companies, which I was kind of surprised.
Nancy, one thing I would ask you to do is confirm here, because it says this quote is based on volume.
Right.
All right, that's something there that we have to clarify, because, you know, maybe there is something if we do less, that's going to cost us more per unit in there. So we might want to investigate, make sure that whatever price they did quote, regardless of whether we have 1 million, 2 million, or 3 million sheets.
I can follow up on that.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
I think, I don't know, what does everyone else think? What do you think?
No, I was just going to ask a couple more questions. So Keith, so you and Greg and Nancy, are all of those boxes stored in the exact same space, or do you have 3 separate?
It's not how it works. We take stuff to Gateway, and Gateway puts a barcode, a tag on it. So when any of us need to pull something, we don't track where it is at Gateway's facility. That's
As it
not our
comes in,
problem.
they put it in their warehouse. And
Right.
then-
We need a box from Gateway, we tell them we need box number, whatever, their number system that they gave us. They get that box, and we have, where they put it, how they hand, that's all their problem. We call them, they pull it, they either bring it to us or we can go out and get it, depends on how big of a hurry we're in and whatnot. And it goes from there. But yeah, we don't rent square footage from them, we each pay a per
Per
box
box.
monthly charge, and they handle everything else.
And that per box is what equals the $500 a month then, roughly?
That's what I'm paying. Plus my poll charge.
And every Thursday you go out, how much is the poll charge?
It's per box. So if I go out, it's $3.50 per box. So if I go out and do
And there's a
10
restock.
boxes,
They put the, I mean, when we send a box out, in addition to the so much a month, there's a
pull and
stocking
put.
charge when they put it in, that they give us that number, and okay, then we pay them so much to put it in, then it's in there, then it's so much a month, and then there's a pull charge and a restock charge.
When was the last time we looked at another storage facility?
We just talked about that recently, with something that came up to put them down at the electric racetrack down here, but they're not really set up to do it. I don't know.
It sounds like we're spending a lot of money, so that's what.
I think that's
The
kind
last
of
time-
typical though.
Yeah, but when you say not set up to do it, you mean
Scanning system and everything,
they
or
would-
we pay the
we'd have to
firm,
number it
we
ourselves.
pay
It was, they're not in the record storage business. If they were gonna do it, it was gonna be, here's a space.
Right.
And, you know, as we got looking into
This
that,
is controlled
You know,
security and humidity and
fire protection, I mean.
fire
they're doing-
protection.
Right.
Which is important. I just-
Absolutely.
Last time we looked.
I mean, as far as, I think we'd have to quote another record storage company. You can't just quote, okay, you know, somebody says they'll rent us their basement. It's not the same thing as what we're doing here, where they're pulling them for us,
Right.
they're, you know.
Well, I guess to move forward with this project, I think what I'm hearing is we just need to know if we do half the quantity, does that change their price? And that's the first question we need to know. And if we sign a contract, as we go through it and start scanning things, some years may be more document intensive, some years not. And how do we go through that and how do we start? And do we want to go back so many years, or what makes sense? And I guess, Nancy, you could tell us what is the frequency of, when does a document transfer or pulling the box really drop off, that really nobody asks for boxes more than 15 years old, more than 30 years old, whatever it is. When does it you see from your records that, these
It is
really
about
aren't-
25.
Is it
I'd
about
say there's a
25?
drop off after 25 years.
So maybe we should focus on that and
Versus
see if the
bankruptcy.
price is the same by doing that, and that way, as time goes on, they'll be dropped off and you just destroy them.
And I think Keith had a good point too, is trying to figure out if we make that 25 years the cutoff, is from 25 to 50, how many boxes does that entail?
It might only be 3 boxes. I mean, we have no
Yeah,
idea.
right, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot, but I mean, in comparison.
Actually, probably over 25 years, we probably have more boxes.
Do you? Okay. Well, like I said, but
The
in
way-
25 years,
the
we're going
way
to
the
use.
The way the court operated with every charge being a case,
Right.
we probably have
A lot more paper back.
a lot more paper.
But and the good thing is, again, if we do that 25-year cutoff, in 25 years, those boxes are all going to be gone, and we won't be charged for them.
So I guess, Nancy, I mean,
I
can
will
you,
ask that if we cut it in half, the
What would it-
amount would that?
But
Well, don't say cut in half, just say if we only do 25 years, because
Okay.
we don't want to give them.
Well, he's gonna wanna know.
Well, we don't know how many
Gotta go
pages
through
are there.
boxes.
We don't know how many boxes are in 20, we don't know how many pages are. It could be 1.5 million, it could be still 2 million pages. But from what you said, it's probably less because each court case is not separated now like it was. It's all combined into one, so there's less paper currently than there was.
Tell them to tier it at different thresholds, whether it's 1 million, 2 million, you know, or per every 500,000 pages. I mean, that's the only way they're going to be able.
But I think we all agree that there's going to be some scanning done, except for building.
Well,
Because you're questioning the.
Well, I am questioning it
cost.
because it's a lot of money. That doesn't, I'm looking at where's the, I'm trying to think of where's the benefit of this expenditure in any large way? And I mean, I don't even know, how many boxes, when you say, you have to drive down there and send somebody down and it costs $3.50 to get the box out, how many boxes do we take a year? I mean, is it 100 or is it 500? How many are
Well,
there?
there's a
Additional?
there's
How
a-
many boxes do you pull out? You send somebody
Or you're
down to get
charged
a
for
box,
$3.50.
somebody
Last week, we
requested.
did 10 boxes in the
Okay,
month.
so.
10 a week.
So what's 10 times $3.50 and then $3.50 back? So
Plus the time
Plus the
of
time, so
sending
maybe
the
100
clerk
bucks.
down Route 18.
So that'd be
yeah.
$100 a week.
sort of thing, too.
So on top of the 500 she's already paying,
Right, so you're up to $900 a month.
right there.
How long does it take, if you could put all those figures together
10 years.
and see how many years could you do the storage probably for the amount of money that we're going to
Well, just
spend?
based on 6
Well,
grand,
it's
it's
even-
20
I think
years.
6 grand is 25 years.
I think it gets a little bit more complicated because at some point they're going to get a new computer system and it's going to be digitized.
Oh,
And those records are all going to be transferred over to that new system and it's going to be in there forever.
Right, right.
And that's where.
And that's
the-
good.
And
That's
the
where the benefit
digitize is
comes.
important, it's just, where's that breaking point? I mean,
That's right.
year back, of course, but how far?
And to bring up not more bad news, but I've also put off a new case management system which would allow us not to be creating paper. Right now, every time we create a form, we have to print it off, scan it, back into the system. So we're creating paper and then scanning it back into the system. A new system would allow us to, when we create the form, have it go right over to the docket and in the system, not creating paper at all.
How much does that gonna cost?
And
That's
you
a
have
lot of
money,
money.
I'm going to tell you two things. That system's $500,000.
So I'd rather focus
Well, you
on
have
getting
money
money on that.
Well, no, there's
No, there's your
additional, there's
special
additional
projects fund.
news.
you have money saved up for that, too.
No, because I do not.
Can you use
take
that special
money away.
projects money for this?
Oh, yeah, tell it.
Whose money is it? It's not Nancy's money.
Well, our money's not Nancy's money. I mean,
But
it's,
none
Well, the
of it's
city's
my
money, but
money,
they're
it's money generated by the corp. None of it
It's
is
court
my
money.
money.
Well, I guess the question
It's
is,
money
I'd rather
generated by
scan what we need to scan, and if you need a new system, those carry forward monies and monies, whatever we have to figure out how to do it, would be used for the new system, because it sounds to me like the new system's more valuable in the
Yes.
long run than scanning all the documents.
It's just a lot more expensive.
It's just, but it's more valuable long-term.
Right.
Long-term, it's right, you're,
Yeah, 'cause your
Investing in the
savings-
future.
Your savings will grow faster.
That's right.
with it.
All right, well, that's a lot of information.
it is a lot to, and we are going to have our backs up against the wall because our current case management system is going to put out an upgrade, which is going to be very pricey.
How many years is that yet? How, when do we plan on doing
Well,
that?
they're expecting to roll it out at the end of this year, and I'm not pleased with it. And if I'm forced into something I'm not pleased with, and then I won't be able to move to a new system because I'm going to have to.
Well, there's a bunch of, how many different types of case management systems are in existence that are workable that you hear as a clerk out there?
There are probably 5 in the state that are workable, 2 that are progressive enough to be called paperless.
There's a bigger question, I think.
So we're moving that I will be in that situation. As you know, I've come to you and I've said, I want to wait till the building's done, I don't want to do both at the same time. Well, nothing's happened on the building, and so I'm back here 2 years later at the same place I was 2 years ago.
Well, let's see what those numbers show, and then, I mean,
But I will find out if they will, the particular company here, Access.
because I think in
which I
making this
probably wasn't allowed to say
decision,
out loud.
as long as also the company can tell us that when you scan these in, whatever case management system you move to, they could be converted to those files easily and it's
I know
not-
that can be.
Okay, okay. Because we wouldn't want to do all this work and then say, oh, we can't.
That
convert
was
them.
already, I wouldn't have done it if I could not have moved those documents to another system.
So if you can get that information, I think. you
So
know,
really, it's just one question. If fewer pages were scanned, how would that affect this?
Is there a
cost?
tiered system like Mark said? Is there, what if it's only 1 million documents? What if it's 500? What if it's 1.5 million? Is there a difference in price?
Well, that's your question. My question though is I want to know how much money is actually spent, what the cost is.
I'm gonna get you that.
That's Keith's
And
question.
Keith, will you track it as far as the last couple of years, what we paid Gateway then too?
Yeah, I
Because I'm
can,
assuming it goes up by the number of boxes we have out there.
No, it's per box.
yeah, it's per box, so when there's more boxes, it goes up.
But the price per box goes up every once
That's
in a
what I'm
while.
saying. If we
I
could look
mean,
for the-
and it's under new management, so I'm sure that the price is going to be going up.
Okay. All right, well, Nancy, thanks. And if you can get us that information, I think we
So
kind of
do
have
you
a
think,
direction.
what I need to know is, do you think at the next finance meeting, which is,
We could get better. I think the question is, there's going to be some scanning, but the question is, in my mind, your new program is more important in my mind than scanning all these documents. We have to scan some of them, but depending on the cost, it sounds more imminent that if they're going to force you to upgrade your computer system, you have no choice. And so there has to be money available to do that.
okay, I will probably know that more information on Monday because I'm going to our
Okay.
current vendors.
Because if they're going to say that, hey, we got an upgrade, you have to take it or we're just dropping you, what do we do? I mean, I don't know, we can't do it. So I think that it's kind of a,
Would you like I'm holding off on the scanning?
well, no, just get some information, because we have to scan something. I think the question is,
So I'm still going to find out about
There-
tiered approach.
there has to be
If
something
we had a
scanned,
million
right?
pages, do I just,
it could only be 10 years maybe, who knows?
well, but see, I can work that out.
Yeah, right.
to
Who knows
make-
what it
Don't
is.
worry, don't worry your heads about,
But if we
the
save
year I
$100,000
use.
or more doing this, then that can go towards the purchase of the new program, which makes more sense to me. I mean, why worry about the past when we try to fix the future, I guess?
well, it is sort of tied in together though.
Yeah, I get you. All right, well, thanks for all the info.
Okay,
And Keith, you're going to report us back on that?
so when is the next finance meeting?
2 weeks from today,
So that's when I will.
23rd.
the 23rd?
Yep.
Right.
2 weeks from today.
So if you have that information, or just email it to us, or email it to Kathy, she can
Okay.
disseminate it, or however
I
it's
can probably
easiest.
get that for you tomorrow.
Whichever easiest for you. Okay, thank
Okay.
you. Okay, we have 1675 expenditure of a home agreement at 427 Prospect. John?
Yes, this is a home agreement for a owner-occupied housing rehabilitation assistance through our existing CHIP program. And allow the mayor to enter into the home agreement to get this project done, which is about $33,000 on South Prospect. There's an emergency clause requested because we need to, work cannot begin until the contract is signed, and we want to get it signed as soon as possible.
Questions?
To approve with the emergency clause?
Second including emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 1676 SPCA 2016 donation request, I think this has been tabled, or do you want to give an
Yes.
update on it, or do you table
I had a
it?
brief chat with Mr. Marcus today. He'll review it and get back to us.
Okay.
So let's table it till next time, please.
1677, just tabled, 1677 fiscal year 16 CDBG application. Jonathan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This request is to authorize and direct the mayor to file an application for grant assistance for our yearly, which is colloquially called the allocation, which is through the Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Allocation Program for the amount of $75,000. And the RCA has listed out the different activities, public transit as usual, reduction to code enforcement, home repair, which is actually intended to be an exterior painting program, fair housing as usual, and administration. So this is $75,000. We need the emergency clause. This application is due June 17th, 2016.
And the public transportation subsidy is the maximum we're allowed to do out of this?
Yes.
Questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause?
Second including emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 1678 OPWC resolution of intent, Ryan Road reconstruction. Patrick?
This one and the next one, typically every year we get a Ohio Public Works Commission grant We did over the last couple of years also get, in addition to grants, a zero-interest loan. And they're informing us that it's required with the loan, the council passes this resolution of intent. Basically, as I read it, saying we expect to get the money and we will pay you back.
Do we need the money? Do we need the loan?
It's free.
Both of them we did
But we're
cover
still leveraging that.
water line expenses.
Right.
All that interest we
You
get.
have
what
the
about
zero
10 bucks?
interest loan, which is the attractive thing, but
This way we can spread out the use of our cash over the length of the loan.
It's no
Since
interest.
it's no interest, it's not costing us anything extra.
Sure.
And actually, towards the end of the loan, it'll actually be, for the current value, it'll be cheaper.
Payments and stuff, though, so our true number is not going to reflect because we have loans out there. That's, I guess,
Well, the loan, I guess, is just,
cash on hand's not, we're going to be making payments. That's what I mean, if we got cash on hand, why wouldn't we? Even though it's 0%, why wouldn't you?
well, I guess the only thing you do other projects where the cash comes in over time through the revenue generation of the fees. That's the only difference it would be.
Well, we aren't earning, even at today's interest rate, we're earning something. So it's not much.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it could help. Is it helping as much as if the interests are higher? No, but better than spending it all now and then finding some big break that we need extra money for and then we didn't have it or something, I guess.
It's just cash management.
Everybody, is that all right?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 1679, the OPWC resolution of intent for the Waters Road water line, phase 1. Same thing.
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. 1680, increased PO 2016-43 Osborne Medina. Who's this? You know? Mayor?
that is mine. This is relating to the, basically just increasing PO to 16.5, cover the bills for the temporary repair at the Guilford culvert. I talked to Elizabeth, I think this came through, then and now, last council meeting, this is just to increase the PO.
This is a now.
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions?
All right.
Carries. 1681, fair housing agreement for fiscal year CD15 CDBG grant. John?
Yes, this is in association with our existing CDBG allocation. There was an oversight and it needed to have an agreement with the Medina County Fair Housing Office. That was not done, so we need to do it now, so we're in compliance with the grant agreement. And there's an emergency requested to, basically because of the late nature of getting the agreement together with the Medina County Fair Housing Office.
Okay, questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 1682, revision to Civil Service Rule 6J. Maureen,
Thank you.
you're on.
Thank you. First off, I want to bring to your attention that Rule 6J, that's wrong. It's various civil service rules.
Oh,
I must
okay.
have left that there by accident, so I apologize.
Okay.
What it is the Civil Service Commission has to contact our applicants if we ever remove their name from eligibility lists, or if we need to contact them for various other notifications. And so, in the past, we've sent letters by certified mail, and lately, we've been having a hard time receiving certified mail, proof of delivery cards back from people. And Law Director Hubers stated that if we don't get a signature back, then we can't prove that we served notice. And so they're really not having a chance to appeal. So we would like to add to the civil service rules that we could also use a courier delivery system like FedEx to deliver the letter and get a signature. And so there's several different rules in the civil service rules that have, we need to insert or FedEx with signature requested or substantially similar commercial mailing system besides certified letter or personal delivery.
And what's the cost impact of that?
It's probably about $15 for FedEx compared to $650, I think it is, for certified mail.
Overall, for a year, what would you think that would add?
I probably do only about 20.
Questions?
The only thought I have on that is if the person's not home to get the United States mail, they're not going to be home to get the FedEx thing.
I know.
All right, unless we can deliver it to their place of employment. I don't see the benefit, really. I see what Greg's trying to do, but I don't know that it's going to achieve that.
Well, generally what happens with FedEx and UPS is they leave a card in your door, and if they're ordering other things like most people, they don't know that it's our letter versus what they ordered off
People don't
Amazon.
sign certified mail because they
So-
think they're getting sued.
Nobody ever
Yeah,
gets a
so-
certificate. If you give them,
That's a
they'll
good
get it.
point.
Yes, so
Yeah.
generally they'll
Right.
come get that.
Okay.
Another option is we have an officer track them down,
Yeah, I never get
which again is time an officer can't be on
You
the
never go
road or
down.
doing other
I sent you one
investigations.
the other day.
Find them at work, on the way to work, on the way home, going to get groceries, whatever they have to do to find them, which is very effective, but also costly and time consuming.
Okay. All right.
That makes sense.
Okay, question?
Okay.
So don't get certified mail.
Thanks for the tip.
With the emergency clause?
Second including emergency clause.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 1683, expenditure of $15,000, Ohio Association of Chiefs of Police.
Okay. That one, we have a sergeant retiring. We do not have a eligibility list, so we're going to need to test. We put out proposals, and the Ohio Association Chief of Police was the second lowest bid. We have 22 candidates who are eligible. Their cost would be $844 per candidate. To compare, the highest was $1,700 per candidate, so this is like half the cost. And we would be doing a written test and an assessment test.
And this might be a crazy question, but you only promote within? There's nobody from outside that can?
For sergeants, only the chief's position, do you have the ability to go outside the department?
I got you.
And just so you all know, we deal with it, but the person has to be in the lower rank for 2 years or greater. So this number, we're looking at anybody at the test time who fits that. There may be some that have no interest in taking the test, but the number that's being given to you is if everybody eligible would take it. We also have younger folks that may not necessarily be interested in taking it if it were offered, but they want to take the test for the experience so that after they're here for 5 or 6 or 7 years and the opportunity comes up, they've at least been through one. And then lastly, I met with the chief and Lorene and myself and Mr. Huber and the Ohio Association of the Chiefs of Police was not the lowest, but it's the one that's done the last several for us, and we've been very satisfied with the results of that, and just feel that it's money well spent because these promotional opportunities come pretty infrequently.
Questions?
So we're still gonna have some officers take it even though they're not eligible, is that what you're saying?
No.
Oh.
They have to be eligible to take it. What I'm
Okay.
saying is the number that we used for the maximum of 15,000 was if every eligible person took it. Now, what I'm telling you is some may decide not to take it. Some may be, a couple years out from retirement, may or may not be interested in getting into a supervisory role. Others may take it without the intention of taking a position if it's offered to them, just for the experience of taking the test when they have more experience.
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 2 new ones are added here, 1684 ODOT salt purchasing program.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, appreciate you allowing this to be amended to the agenda. Kathy received notification from the state, from ODOT, I believe last Wednesday, and the turnaround time is within a month. It's short. They do this to us every year, so I believe by May 27th. I want to see a signed resolution ordinance by yourself and the mayor, rather than the typewritten.
And this will go on next council's meeting as with the emergency clause.
It'll give us 4 days to respond accordingly, so I appreciate that.
Plenty of time.
What's the rush?
Questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second including emergency clause.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 1685, proposed new classification of water technician.
Well, thank you again, Vanessa and Valerine's here. I appreciate her help in guiding us through this. It's been a while since we eliminated or asked for eliminating a position. So as the request indicates, we have a vacancy. We evaluate personnel. So in an effort to maximize our staffing levels currently, we're asking to eliminate third meter tech position that is currently vacant. And we created a water tech position, which is a more well-rounded utility-type person in the water department, which Civil Service approved on last Wednesday. At the same time, we talked about this in the budget process. If you recall, Pat has an employee that he's sending out specifically to mark storm sewer utility, and then the water department sends out an employee to mark the water side. So we're sending two different employees, two trucks, to the same location. That doesn't bode well. We're trying to utilize our personnel better. Corey's spending 60% of his time on locates. We get up to maybe 50 requests with the OUPS a day. With the gas company's project, with our projects, we have to mark our own line, our own projects for the contractors required by law. So it's our intention to have this water tech take care of all the utility locates for both storm and water amongst the SCADA system. There's so many other tasks that we're requiring. And we're looking at the same rate of pay, simply changing the position name and the duties as well.
Move to approve.
Second. Any questions?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, anything else before we have a motion to recess into executive session? Nope.
Okay, I'll make a motion at 7:05 to go into executive session for two purposes. One is conferences with the board's attorney, the city's attorney, concerning disputes involving the city which are the subject of pending or imminent court action, and preparing for conducting or reviewing negotiations for bargaining sessions with employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment.
Myself and Mr. Huber.
Clerk, please call,
Second.
clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
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 All right, we're going to recess into executive session. We will not be taking any action, I don't believe. Yeah, I don't think we're taking any action on any item discussed in executive session. And we will reconvene and adjourn from finance. Where are we meeting, by the way? Right here, we're meeting downstairs here.
Next week.